Breaking news today. We're actually on the PBD podcast this morning. Breaking news. We're sitting there with Sage Steele, ESPN commentator. Breaking news comes across the desk. OJ Simpson dead at 76. The Drudge Report put out this piece of news. Cancer murders OJ. So there he is. That's a play on words right now. So, by the way, you guys are Gen Z, the youngest millennials. Before I kind of give you my perspective, when you think of OJ, what comes to mind, Isabel?
Well, I probably have a bit of a unique experience, Adam. I grew up with two lawyers as parents,
Ooh.
so we loved talking about this when I was a little kid. Some of my earliest memories were about my parents talking about the OJ Simpson trial.
Really?
So I
what did they say? What was the conversations like?
It was just fascinating about the trial side of what was going on and all the legal.
What's your biggest memory from your two legal parents?
I mean, it's vague. I was little. I was very young. I was born in 1997, so these were very
and
early,
the trial was in
1994,
1995.
Yeah.
So, but when you think of OJ in general, what do you think of?
When I think of OJ in general, I mean, I just think of my parents. I think about the fact that it was one of the most groundbreaking trials of their time. I don't know that our generation really has our version of that. There was a bit of hype around the Rittenhouse trial. There was a lot being said about the Derek Chauvin trial, but there's not a lot that you can tie back to an iconic court moment for each generation, and I think that really applies to
So what
OJ.
I'll tell you is this. You're absolutely right. We've never seen a double murder, double homicide being on trial like this, but in terms of fanfare and eyeballs, here's what comes to mind. Whatever's going on with Epstein over the past X amount of years, all right? Andrew Tate, everyone's fascinated by that. And the latest story, Diddy.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with that. When I say that the world was consumed with OJ, that's not an understatement. Amy, in Australia, what do you recall about OJ? When you think of OJ, what do you think of?
Not much. I didn't learn barely anything about it until I moved
Adam
here to the
Sandler
States.
said it best.
I'm curious to know though, like, did your parents think he was innocent or guilty?
I mean, I would have to ask them today. I think they generally would assume that he was guilty, but that was the big question of the time, right? I love that.
Yeah.
Do you think he's innocent or guilty?
I haven't looked into the court case too much, so
Guys,
I really couldn't. But I know it was
no
highly.
one's on the stand here. I'm just asking your opinion.
I mean, but I didn't. You can't give a verdict of guilty or innocent if you haven't actually looked into the facts, right? I mean, for me, I've heard that it was highly contentious.
That doesn't stop every single person on the internet from weighing in.
I mean, it was a criminal trial. It was a criminal trial, right? Yeah. So that means that beyond a reasonable doubt, they convicted him of being innocent. I don't think that sentence made sense, but they said he was innocent, right?
He was acquitted.
And so he was acquitted 100%. And so that means that, like, 99.9%, they found that the evidence was not substantial to actually convict him. And I think that should be good enough for anybody else. But I don't know. I haven't looked into the details myself to be able to give like a resounding yes or no.
Okay. Way to equivocate. By the way, there was two trials. There was a criminal trial, which he was found innocent, but it was a civil trial. That came on the heels of that. He was found guilty, he had to pay millions. So how are you found innocent of murder, but in the civil trial
because it's on the balance of probability. So on the balance of probability, it means you only need 51% chance that you actually committed the offense. Whereas when you're looking beyond a reasonable doubt, it needs to be 98, 99%.
There it is, guys. There it is there. Legalese, our legal scholar in the house.
Not a legal scholar.
Aaron, in the house. When you think of OJ, what do you think of?
Guilty for sure, but he ended up getting in trouble. I mean, he was hit with all those fines with the civil case, but I don't know that he actually ever paid them. And then didn't he get locked up for stealing basketball memorabilia?
Yeah, he got arrested many years later.
And like for speeding.
I don't know the exact charge. Malik could probably find it, but yes, he got arrested again for a shakedown for memorabilia, and it got very ugly. But you're going with guilty.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get the dream team to get you off for murder, but then you end up getting thrown in jail over something.
Oh, you know about the dream team?
Yeah, because when you say it, I think of Cuba Gooding Jr. because of that FX show. They did like a reenactment of the OJ trial called like the trial of OJ Simpson.
Yes.
He played it, and I remember looking into it, and apparently this was like such a pivotal case for America that when they were announcing whether the verdict of the case, whether he was guilty or innocent, that Domino's Pizza reported that they didn't have for like 5 or 10 minutes a single order placed by phone across America because like all Americans, they said they were like captivated
by this. The world
Really?
stopped.
Yeah.
Great perspective by Aaron. By the way, pull that up, Malik. This was in, I believe 2008. This was 1994 was the initial trial, which we're discussing. But then after that, he served years in a Nevada prison after being convicted in 2008 on 12 counts of armed robbery and kidnapping 2 sports memorabilia dealers at gunpoint in Vegas, nicknamed the Juice. OJ Simpson was one of the best and most popular athletes of the late 60s and 70s. Pau, you were born in Venezuela?
Yes. Well, no, in Boston, but I lived there all my life in Venezuela.
Boston. When you think of OJ, what do you think of?
Like, I don't know. I think most of like what people have said to me, I do think he might be guilty, because if you have a good team working for you and they do their job the right way, you know, you probably will get away with it.
Now, just to be clear, when you think of OJ or naranja de jugo.
Okay, jugo de naranja.
The juice, how do you say it?
Jugo de naranja.
Jugo de naranja.
Yes.
Orange juice.
Yes.
¿Te gustas?
What, the orange juice?
Yeah,
No,
you just like orange
not
juice.
OJ, but the jugo de naranja, I do like it.
I like orange juice, but not OJ.
But I don't know. I saw him a couple of years ago. He used to hang out a lot. I don't know where he died, but I saw him like a couple of years ago. He will hang out all the time in Fort Lauderdale. He will be there all the time.
He was out and about, actually.
Yeah, chilling with everybody.
Oh, yeah, but you know what he said when he was out and about? He said, look, you know, I'm still out here looking for the murderer. He's out there. I can't sleep at night.
Did he actually say that?
He actually said this, because I'm still out here looking for the murderer. He actually wrote a book. Malik, you can put up the OJ Simpson book.
If I
I
did
could
it.
be wrong. He's like, I didn't do it, but if I did, here's what I would have done.
That's so creepy. He was even texting one of my friends. It's like so crazy.
Really? He was texting one of your friends?
Yes.
Saying what?
Hey, to hang out. She was so scared. She was
Watch your back, girl. Watch your back.
Yes.
Okay. Here's the book right here.
Oh, my God.
If I did it, Malik, what's the name of the book?
I did it.
I did it.
That is the name.
A little
No.
less like
Obvious.
wow.
I think he
And
put
there
the
he
if
was,
in the
you know,
corner.
chilling out.
Malik, what's the name of the book?
I did it. If I did it, Confessions of a Killer.
Got it.
Where's
Thank you,
the
Malik.
if?
Exactly.
Good question.
Last but not least, Natalia. When you think of OJ, what do you think of?
I think of a few things. I think of a case that went viral all over the world. I think a murderer who got away with it. And I think, believe it or not, Kardashians were kind of born.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's just kind of the main, like, back-to-back
Tell us
thing.
why, Natalia.
Because obviously, you know, their dad was a main point in that case. And I feel like a lot of people took advantage of this case as a jumpstart for marketing, whatever journey they were going on. And look, this is a perfect example. He made a book, If I Did It. You know, Kardashians took advantage of the opportunity. They blew up, and they basically run the social media world today. I just think about the team that it took to make this case kind of go through and watch it even play out. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I wouldn't say I know like the exact of it, but yeah, he's a murderer.
Point W Del Valle for Nat. W Nat right there. She's absolutely right. You talked about it. Our friend Aaron, the haterade in the house, straighterade, my bad. So OJ Simpson, this was a cultural phenomenon. By the way, I didn't watch him playing football in the 60s and 70s, but he was one of the best NFL players of all time. Won the Heisman, I believe, for USC, so he was out there in LA.
Heisman winner.
What was that?
1968 Heisman winner.
1968 Heisman winner, gets drafted, goes to the Buffalo Bills, one of the best running backs in the league, 2,000 yards, absolute stud, one of the first guys to cross over from the NFL into Hollywood. He starts doing movies, specifically the Naked Gun movies with Leslie Nielsen. If you remember that genre of movies. No, maybe I'm just dating myself. Naked Gun. You can pull up a picture, Malik. I'm sure you can find it. Malik's very quick on the ones and twos. I said Naked Gun. He pulls it right up. I want to say his name in the movie was Norberg. Yeah, there it was. Naked Gun. Awesome movie.
Oh, I watched that the other day.
Yeah, you remember that stuff? So 1994, out of nowhere, breaking news: 2 people murdered at OJ's house. Oh shit! What? Turns out it's his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman. I remember being in middle school at the time. And guys, there's no social media, there's no TMZ, it's just the news. Like, there's the big 3, there's ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN's a thing, Fox is just kind of starting out at this point. The world is consumed. It's one of the first, like, televised trials in American history, nobody is not watching this trial. It's a cultural phenomenon. So what happens is he puts together, as Aaron said, and as Nat mentioned, the dream team of lawyers. Here are the lawyers. Tell me if you've seen this name. This OJ dream team is represented by a high-profile defense team led by Johnny Cochran, who famously made the phrase, "If the glove don't fit, you must acquit." And homeboy was rapping in the courthouse. And what happened was one of the main reasons that he got off was he went to put the glove on that they found at the trial. There it is right there.
Can you get a picture of the glove, him putting it on?
Yeah, find the glove. But keep that picture in a second, but find the glove. He's struggling to put the glove on. You know, they say don't tell, show, don't tell. He showed, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, the glove don't fit, you must have quit." Like everyone's going crazy. And Johnny Cochran makes a name for himself as the lead attorney with there it is right there.
It fits.
It just didn't fit at the time. Ironically, those
you could squeeze that. You could do some
there's
damage
probably
like
a better
that.
picture because even in the
that
video,
picture's a bit questionable.
Yeah.
Looks about right.
The lawyers that were defending him, Robert Shapiro, massive lawyer at the time, F. Lee Bailey, massive attorney, Alan Dershowitz, who's still a major name in the legal world. He's the Harvard professor on the Constitution. Okay, he's still out there. We've interviewed him on PBD Podcast a few times. And then Nat, absolutely right. If you show that picture, Malik, one of the lawyers in the dream team was a man named Robert Kardashian. Show that picture. So Robert Kardashian, he's all the way on the right, next to Johnny Cochran, which is next to OJ. Robert Kardashian, obviously, was the father of all the Kardashians. So he died, I want to say, I don't know, early 2000s, whatever it was. We know that Kris Kardashian then became Kris Jenner. She married Bruce Jenner, who was a man at the time. Now Caitlyn Jenner. By the way, Caitlyn Jenner weighed in. I just gender appropriated her correctly. She weighed in. She said, "I used to be friends with OJ Simpson, but now, quote unquote, good riddance." Gloria Allred, who was the lawyer for Nicole Brown Simpson's family during the trial, she tells TMZ, "OJ Simpson's death reminds us that the legal system, even 30 years later, is still failing battered women, and that the power of celebrity men to avoid the true justice for the harm that they inflict on their wives or significant others is still a major obstacle to the right of women to be free of the gender violence of which they are still subjected." In my opinion, this is a stretch, Gloria. You're talking about double homicide. It's a little aggressive when you talk about some of the cases that she's been a part of, the Johnny Depp case, other cases like that. By the way, when a female makes a comment like that, saying the legal system still reminds us that 30 years later, it's that women are still being battered, and that the power of celebrity men to avoid true justice for the harm they inflict on their wives is still a major obstacle. Do you agree with her or disagree?
You know, it's interesting. On the premise of those words by themselves, I don't disagree that there are powerful people escaping crimes largely related to exploitation of women and children, but I think we're looking in all of the wrong places for that in society, or the real cases aren't really being brought to court. You just mentioned that this generation's version of this is kind of related to Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep.
We still haven't been able to let that go, nor should we, because we still demand answers on what this is looking like in terms of the most powerful people in our country and world escaping true justice simply because of power. But you look at some of those other cases, like the Johnny Depp case, etc., and I think there's a weird perversion happening in the justice system right now, where we do have a two-tiered system. Those that are powerful and wealthy and politically connected escape justice, but she's not talking about that. She's talking about the era of the Me Too movement that unfortunately has been co-opted by those seeking an easy route to notoriety and maybe an easy buck in the process for just accusing people when there's no legal substantiation for that.
Awesome answer. You say that the two-tiered system of justice. What evidence do you have, or what case examples do you have that these days, namely Trump? What else do you see out there in the legal
As a legal nerd myself, certified.
2 lawyer parents.
My eyes were glued to the Derek Chauvin trial for this very reason, and it reminded me a lot of, even before there was virality. Yes, it is. It is the police officer who was convicted of killing George Floyd. It reminded me a lot of the virality, so to speak, of the OJ trial, even before there was social media. You're right, every eye was glued to this case. And the power of the court of public opinion versus the court of law. I think in the OJ trial, you didn't see the court of public opinion really infiltrate a jury's mind. But in the Derek Chauvin trial, typically to convict somebody of homicide, you have to have a massive preponderance of evidence. You cannot convict beyond a shadow of a doubt. There was ample doubt in this particular criminal case that was the reason for this person's passing away, George Floyd. In fact, there are documents from coroners saying asphyxiation is not the reason that George Floyd passed away. He passed away because of a drug overdose. So you had the evidence right in front of you, and yet you were watching the court of public opinion threaten to kill every single one of these jurors and their families. They were being doxxed on the internet. And of course, now we know that he was convicted and is spending the rest of his life in prison.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. If you like that one, click right here to watch the full SOSCAST. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.